Happy day after Thanksgiving.
Woo.
JP.
We got through it, brother. We got through it.
You're looking,
did anyway.
Yeah, you look like you barely got through it, all nice and hungover.
Well, I mean, really, I got drunk Wednesday night, so I went into Thanksgiving morning.
I got a little drunk both nights.
Oh, yeah? Well,
I
hey,
was like, hey,
God
I'm
bless.
celebrating. I think I just bounced back a little bit better than you seem to have.
Man, that cheap rot gut beer will get you, man. But those tall cans are just so affordable.
That's why I only drink the finest of beers, like Bud Light.
Oh,
and
man.
Michelob.
Yeah, you're getting high dollar over here. All right.
Natural Light now. I've been more of a Michelob kind for a while, but it used to be straight up Natural Light and Bud Light. But
I go for the Ice House Edge if I'm looking for a cheap, nasty drunk.
Yeah,
that's a nasty. That's like get up on the table drunk and,
you know what does that to me?
Around.
You remember Steel Reserves?
I remember those.
Oh, my God, man.
Yeah, I've never drank any Steel Reserve.
Don't.
Never have.
Two tall boys, and I consider myself to have a pretty decent tolerance, but two tall boys, I'm going to feel like crap. I'm going to act like crap.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not going to be good for anybody involved. So,
I'm telling you.
but
like moonshine.
yeah. Oh, I love some moonshine.
Yeah.
Just depends on, So it is finally Friday, and it is time. We normally would do it on Thursday, but obviously we were stuffing our faces and drinking, so we weren't available to podcast yesterday. But it's time for the Mail Call podcast.
Mail Call.
We hope that everyone has had a great week. We hope your Thanksgiving was great. If you randomly found this video on the internet, I'm Justin.
Oh, and I'm JP.
And we are the Podcasting Dead. We mostly talk about The Walking Dead, but we do some other stuff as well. And once a week, we love to do mail call videos in which we get to answer your questions.
So many beautiful comments.
And it just was kind of hard to
the whole thing.
Hard to podcast about an episode of The Walking Dead, but then have to address, questions all in the same. So we're like, let's just do the questions separate, and we'll have a whole video. And if you have a question you want answered for next week's podcast, as we've said, remember, in this video, leave it in the comments section, and we'll try to get to it. If you leave it on other videos with the hashtag mail call, we'll try to get to it, but no guarantees. We kind of just pull this one up and go. But let's get it started with our listener, Rain DeVos. Says, oh boy, we're going to have fun with this one. I don't think Andrea was useless at all. If it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have been introduced to the governor and we wouldn't know what was going on in Woodbury. She brought herself down to build up the main villain. She still thinks she sucks, though, but she wasn't useless to the story. Okay, no, we're not going to have fun. Because I agree with that. When I say useless, I just meant she was just a useless group member. You know what I mean? No, she was useful for the story. She was useful to bang out the governor so we could see what was happening. But they still could have showed us what was going on behind the scenes without Andrea, because we saw everything going on in the sanctuary, and it didn't take anybody sleeping with Negan.
You think Andrea would have been giving up that butt to Negan?
Oh, I know she would have. She'd have fell for Negan, man.
She would have been like a sexy double agent, man, kind of like Eugene.
No, she wasn't a double agent. She had a chance to be a double agent. She wouldn't be a double agent.
She'd have been a double agent.
She was just a dumbass.
No. She was playing chess, brother, not checkers.
No, she was trying to save everyone.
Yep.
Whatever.
Always
It's
three
like
moves ahead.
Stupid ass. No, it's like, I don't know if she would have been banging Negan, because Negan and the governor had two different forms of charm. The governor was much more like the guy that you want to take back to your parents on Thanksgiving and be like, here's Philip. And he's just like, how are you? And he's very charming. Negan, is much more like, Negan and Merle had more in common with their ways of hitting on women. And she wasn't attracted to Merle. I don't know if Andrea would have been banging out Negan. I don't think she would have fell in love for him. Andrea seemed like before the apocalypse, she'd have been more of a sophisticated kind of lady. She was a defense attorney?
Something like that, yeah.
She'd have been, a more sophisticated lady, and the governor kind of fit that, whereas Negan I don't think would have ever been her type.
You think Andrea licked and kissed on his nasty stabbed out eye?
Probably,
yeah.
Took Lydia from the comics role. And just was like
man.
But once you found the heads, I don't care what the excuse is, dude. Once you find that the guy has, a room full of heads, Michonne, who you've been with for, 7 months or something at this point, someone you know and trust who's kept you alive, doesn't like him. I could go on forever, man. It's one of those things, it's like politics. There's no point in arguing because no one's ever going to change my mind. Andrea sucked.
Stand by your man, baby.
She
Even if he's feeding goldfish zombie heads, I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Let's find out your girl's feeding.
Dude, I've seen her do weirder things than that, believe me.
I think you might have.
Yeah.
Well, good for you for standing by
that. And that is
that.
another podcast.
Let's see. Ray DeVos also says, I've been watching back Rick's final episode last night. Enjoyed watching it again, but it raised a question perhaps you guys know. Why was there dynamite placed on the bridge? I thought they didn't want the saviors who were building the bridge to have weapons. Dynamite seems like a pretty heavy weapon to me, and I thought that Rick's initial intention was to save the bridge and not lace it with explosives. I might have missed some dialogue somewhere, but I can't wrap my head around it. Hope you guys can help me with that, and please keep making awesome content. Thank you, Rain DeVos. You're awesome.
It was pretty conveniently placed. We got to,
Well, forget the fact that blast probably wouldn't have thrown him into the river. I mean, I'd have to look at it again. But I've watched the episode several times, and looking at his position, and I'm not at all an explosives expert. Maybe they do suck you back into. I don't know, but it looks like he was off the bridge. The river is, several feet in front of him, and behind him is nothing but woods on both sides. He pulls the trigger, and it shoots him into the river. You know what I mean? I don't really know how that works. I'm sure some plot details. That's something, if you know, please tell me. But I just don't see how he would have been blown into the river unless that river, winded back by them, and we just didn't see it. And maybe that's the only thing I can come up with. But the dynamite, I'm with you, Rain. I have no idea. I don't remember them saying anything about dynamite. I don't know why there would have been dynamite there on a bridge that you were building.
Tool. Yeah.
It's more for demolition, unless maybe they used it to demolish what was left of the old bridge and it just kind of was hanging out there. But you're right. I would imagine that you would keep a better lid on your dynamite.
One would think. Right?
In the apocalypse, it's kind of like a nuke. You know what I mean? It's in the land of bows and arrows and hatchets. Dynamite is kind of like your cruiser missiles. So I would imagine you'd kind of keep them locked down because they're not something you just want anybody to be able to grab. So, yeah, good point. Definitely, like JP said, very conveniently placed.
Well, what are you going to do?
Carrie Major says, how large of a group are the Whisperers? I know that they live amongst the Walkers. I know the top three, but not sure of the rest of the Whisperer scouts and members. Thanks again for everything. Carrie, first off, thank you, of course, for listening. And spoilers. We know some people don't want any kind of comic spoilers, so if you don't want those, just, hang back for a few minutes and then come back and we'll be done. But the Whisperers are a pretty large group. I mean, they're not like, I don't know if they were,
you never get a clear idea, but they have a pretty nice sized little settlement.
There are some scenes and frames in the comic where, they're kind of, where they leave the herd of zombies and they're like in the woods in their own little community doing their thing. And I mean, it's like a camp. I mean, there's, lots of people there.
And they're skinning deer and all kinds of cool stuff.
It's nothing along the Commonwealth line. It's not like there's 50,000 of them. But, I mean, it's enough of them to be more than a threat.
Yeah. And, I mean, their power comes from the number of zombies they have. So it's not really, They're
not going to fight you head on.
Yeah.
Except for Beta. But Beta will come at you head on.
Yeah, he's a hoss. Big old hoss.
Oh, man, I'm so excited. My dad was telling me last night, he's like, I didn't even know. Did you hear who's playing in one of the Whisperers? And when I was like, Ryan Hurst. My dad's a huge Sons of Anarchy fan. And he was like... I've loved this season, and now I'm even more excited because I just feel like everything that dude does, he's awesome. He's also on that show, I think, The Outsiders. I think that's what it's called. And my dad said that show was a little slow, but he was great. It's like he was great in an okay show. You know what I mean? He's really excited to see Ryan. And I told him, I said, dude, Beta's a really memorable character in the comics, so I'm glad that they picked someone who seems to be able to do these memorable roles, because Beta's definitely someone in the comics right there. I'd put him with like Negan and the Governor. Like, you remember him. You know what I mean? You might forget about those weird guys that tried to rape Carl on the side of the road, or just these odds and end enemies they've had. Like even their version of the Terminus people in the comics that ate people. You kind of forget about them here or there, but you have your standouts when you think Walking Dead villains, Governor, Negan. For me, it's also Beta, Alpha. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I still would have rather seen like a Kevin Nash, the wrestler, playing maybe, or maybe like a Kane from the WWF.
I was going to say, that I told Dad too. I said that's my only complaint, but I've learned to accept that with The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead does not cast like muscular people for muscular roles. Like Jeffrey Dean Morgan, he's a tall guy. But, I mean, Negan in the comics, and he's not even that tall. I think Jeffrey Dean Morgan's like 6'2". Mm-hmm. But Negan in the comics looks like he's a good 6'2", 6'3", just 220 pounds of, like, solid muscle.
Dude, yeah.
And Jeffrey Dean Morgan, now, don't get me wrong. People, when you say this, think that you're dogging Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Jeffrey Dean Morgan took Negan's role and did way better than I could have expected. It's any fault of Negan's character is probably due to the writing, not him. But
he's a string bean.
With that said, he's a slim guy. So, I mean, mean, it's like Rick is supposed to be a slim guy in the comics. Rick might weigh 160, 70 pounds, like max. I mean, I'm 6 foot. And my weight, it depends on how much time I spend in the gym. My weight fluctuates between 180 and 190. Just depends on how much gym time I have. And Rick's supposed to be smaller than that. I imagine Rick being 5'10", 160, 70 pounds. And Negan's supposed to be this, this 6'2", and it got Jeffrey Dean Morgan. So also Jesus at one time in the comics made fun of Rick for being so small.
Yeah.
And Jesus was a more stout, kind of broader man, not huge and muscular, but he was an athletic looking dude. And instead we got tiny little Thomas Paine.
Right.
Which I like him.
Yeah,
I think
great.
He does a great job. Ain't that his name? Is that his name? Sorry for not knowing that. Some people just rip you apart if you don't know names. But he does a great job, but that's not who I would have expected to play Jesus. So I've come to expect The Walking Dead's not going to give us.
Yeah, like I said, this season, Jesus looking like a skinny Khal Drogo, or Khal Drogo. I mean,
that's my favorite comparison.
Yeah, just with that pointy beard, man. But it's working. It works for him.
Yeah, that's awesome. But so the Whisperers definitely have the numbers to be a threat, but they're not a head-on type of enemy. So if you see them just running back, like head-on battle with them this season, that's very out of character from the comics.
Yeah, chances are if you see a Whisper, it's because they're stabbing.
And you're right. I was gonna say it's too late. If you notice a Whisper, I've seen the scene, man. It's haunting. I can't wait for Sunday because the first scene, I'm assuming it's Alpha, but the walkers are in the field and it kind of zooms in. You just see that one walker stop and it looks up and back at the camera, and I'm just as a big fan of the comics, I'm like, dude, I'm already stoked for this episode.
Me. Yeah.
They Jesus too, the guy that plays Jesus, said that this is the scariest episode of The Walking Dead to date. It's a very horror format. I love it, man. I'm giddy again about The Walking Dead.
Yeah, man. The direction has been astounding since Angela King took over.
I was, last season. I mean, like I said, we had several episodes in the last 2 seasons where we might come in and be like, "Well, I'm really feeling this one." You loved Oceanside's episode for whatever reason, but Matt and I hated it. Thought it was, we said it flat out, it's the most boring thing I've watched in a while. This season, man, even last week's episode, which was one of the slower episodes, I still was interested. It was still, a lot of good storytelling and character development there to keep me glued to the screen. I love it, man.
Well, it's got a great balance this season. You don't get a bunch of those bottleneck episodes,
Right. You get enough action to be satisfied on that front, but you also get enough storytelling and character development to kind of, get, because, you got to have that. You can't, if you have all action, then people are going to be like, it's just all action and no substance.
Yeah. And before there'd be at least 2 storylines where I was just like, all right, let's wade through this garbage for a little while. But now, really, I'm enjoying each individual story arc. Yeah. It's nice.
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful thing.
So, the Whisperers, definitely enough to be a threat. I'm so excited for the Whisperers, man. I thought I was super excited for Negan, and then I'm going to be honest, the Negan thing kind of dragged out a little bit too long, and my excitement kind of died. And I really hated that I got to the point where I was kind of like, all right, let's wrap this Negan thing up, man. 2 seasons. I'm really hoping the Whisperers, the pacing's been great. They're coming. You're on the edge of your seat. They've given you plenty of little clues, but, they're not dragging it out per se. You know what I mean? I'm loving it. Let's see. Moving on to Ryan Owen. What if there was a civil war between the main cast? You can both take a side and draft your survivors for your team. Bonus question: who wins survives out of your groups? Oh man, that's going to be hard to really answer that.
That's almost a podcast in and of itself.
That might, maybe we could make a whole podcast. Number one, Rick's on my team.
Oh yeah, clearly.
I usually, I like to.
Did he say past and present, or are we just going with the current cast?
That's a good question. I don't know. If it's present, then I call Jesus.
You got Jesus. I want Ezekiel just for his rousing speeches.
I call Daryl. He's got plot armor.
Yeah, that's true.
Jesus and Daryl. You called Aaron?
No, I didn't. I just called Ezekiel.
Oh, Ezekiel. Okay, man. Damn, I want Ezekiel. He could be our team motivator.
That's what I'm saying.
Those
riveting speeches. Yeah, you got to have that. He's not the best strategist or whatever, but
I would definitely take Rosita.
You got. Oh man,
yeah. I'm stacking the team, man. I'm getting the fighters of the group, but also. I don't know. It's more to think about than that. Obviously, you can't just you got to pick who's a good strategist. I picked Jesus because he's very level-headed, but he's also a badass when it comes to combat. Rosita's a little bit hot. See, that's the problem I have that could screw me up though. I've got Daryl and Rosita. Both are very, very good fighters, and they're both decent strategists, but we both know they're very hot-headed.
Yeah, going to run off and do their own thing.
It could end up... So it's why we can't do this in one. So, Ryan, I'll tell you what, maybe in the next week or so, maybe next week, I don't see why we couldn't do that.
Yeah, it was after the mid-season finale. We're going
to need lots to talk about. So we'll make an entire podcast about that. We'll sit down, and what we'll do it separately, JP. You'll write out your own list, and even if we do have the same people, we'll write out our own list, see how they compare, and discuss how we think it would go.
Yeah, maybe we can even get like a pin board with like names cut out, and
right.
Yeah, even though we don't have any visual here.
Can we play Battleship and just put like a character's face next to Battleship, and we'll just battle it out right here on the podcast? And
or what was that other game? Guess Who?
Oh man,
really cool.
That'd be really cool.
Man,
we could do that.
Why has Walking Dead not created this merch?
All right, needs to happen.
Christmas is coming up.
Yep. Idris Dynasty says, how do you think Morgan will come back to the original show, if you think he will come back at all? I want Morgan back on this show. I like Fear the Walking Dead. I liked most of last season. It had a few points where it was kind of... It was good, though. There were certain points where Fear the Walking Dead has felt better than The Walking Dead. It just depends on where they're at.
The second half of this last season, a little lackluster.
Right. It felt a little drug out, to be honest with you. Kind of like the Negan. It was just one of those things where like they just kind of drug these last few episodes out. But some good characters. Again, John Dory, I absolutely love. My favorite new addition to either show in a long time. I would love to see Morgan and John Dory crossover. I want John Dory to come over. He could almost take Rick's spot. He's not as ruthless per se, but he's a badass, and he's just so damn lovable.
So if you had to trade Morgan and John Dory for two characters on The Walking Dead to go to Fear, who would you swap them out with?
Great question. Probably Tara. Okay. Which I didn't mind her this. I really didn't mind her this episode. Like I said, Tara is one of those. I liked her when she was helping Glenn. I thought she had a great story arc, kind of a redemption. Started off as a bad guy, but just ended up on the wrong side. Wasn't a bad person, and I really liked what she was doing in the beginning. And then when she got to her whole Dwight, I'm going to kill him. I'm not going to kill him. Like I wasn't that big on her, but probably Tara. And let's see. Who would you have to? Well, I'm thinking because I'm gonna have to think on this.
Ooh, God, you're asking me questions. That's always a bad idea because I never have answers. I think Ezekiel, because it'd be great to see some dialogue between Strand and Ezekiel. That would just.
Well, I wasn't thinking about trading in that regard. I was thinking about trading like just in the sense of just to improve The Walking Dead, not so much for that. That's a good point.
Yeah, you got to take two away from The Walking Dead to bring over, Morgan and John Dory.
I would. Well, damn. Well, then that means you don't want to. Well, see, that puts you in a weird spot. Then you don't want to trade good Walking Dead characters.
Yeah, but
because
you
lose them on The Walking Dead, right?
Up, man.
No, you got a great point. I just didn't think of it like that because now I'm like, well, crap. Now I don't really care for Tara on Fear the Walking Dead. She's the last thing that show needs. So crap. But if there are two Fear the Walking Dead characters, I would like to see on the show aside from John. I mean, yeah, I got confused. I don't know, man. Tara and Enid.
All right.
Two characters I'm trying to think if there's anybody. I mean, I'm sure there are. This is kind of an on-the-spot thing. I like to research, and I'm more of a strategist. I like to really sit.
I understand.
But yeah, no, I don't know. But then that would suck when they go to Fear the Walking Dead because now you've taken two of the most interesting characters. But I would love to see Strand come over to The Walking Dead too. Bring Strand along.
No, hey, why not?
But I don't know, man. I think that we've got to have some closure between Rick and Morgan. It started with Rick and Morgan.
I think Rick's going to make his way down to Texas.
Like, we've got to have some, maybe, I know they're doing the movies, but I hope that's not like their idea of boosting up Fear the Walking Dead is we're going to end up crossing Rick over to that.
Well, you never know. And I mean, hopefully he can find another cowboy hat. And
I doubt they would do that, though. They got those 3 movies coming out, and he doesn't want to be in the show because he doesn't. I don't think that would happen. That's just a thought, but I don't know, man. I would like to say season 10, maybe we would see Morgan return. I mean, obviously, I don't think they've done it for this season because they would want to explain, unless Fear is like a flashback. Next season, that's how they get away from having to keep up with the time jump. It's a flashback showing how Morgan got back to our main group. But I don't know, man. I really want Morgan back, though. My dad feels me on that one, too, because my dad's like, Morgan's seriously, aside from Rick, like my favorite character. And I hate it when we lost him on The Walking Dead. I just loved, he did kind of go in circles with his, I'm going to kill everybody. All lives are precious. I kind of want to kill everybody. Don't kill anybody. I'm going to kill everybody. But With that said, Lenny James is such a great actor and plays Morgan so well that you don't really care. He can go in circles all he wants. You're just happy to have him on set.
And, I've kind of equated it to like a drug addict relapse kind of thing,
Right, and the thing is, that I think we said that in a podcast a year or two ago, man, is that with Morgan, you got to realize, some people complained about him going in circles, but that's real life. People don't just have this defining moment all the time and just go, I'm no longer going to kill people. I found the perfect balance between sanity and insanity. It don't work that way. I mean,
no longer going to smoke crystal. Well, you know what? Sometimes you just get a taste.
I'm not going to do coke anymore. You know what? A little coke's not going to hurt.
And then a month later, you've pawned off your car. Your wife's left you.
Kids aren't allowed to see you.
Yeah, I mean, these things happen.
Yeah, no, I think that it's very realistic with Morgan. Someone that's been through the things that he's been through, he's going to constantly flop back and forth. I mean, he's a very conflicted individual. And speaking of Morgan, moving on to our next question from Tyler, something you could talk about is that on IMDb, Dwayne, Morgan's son, is casted to be in the finale of season 9.
Is that right?
Remember when Morgan said people wearing dead people's faces? Is he a whisperer, or is Morgan back to just a hallucinating? Well, Morgan's not in this season, right? Wait a minute. Make sure he didn't say on season 9, and it's The Walking Dead. Well, Morgan's not on. That better question is Morgan listed as a cast member for season 9?
How old would that kid be at this point?
God, I don't know, man. He'd be a grown man.
Yeah,
because he's about roughly Carl's age, and I mean, when Carl died, he was. I don't know how old he was supposed to be, but I would imagine he lives at least like 14, 15 years old, and you add like 6 years to it, he's like 21.
You think they might just recast him as another character, or maybe?
I mean, they wouldn't have to. That kid was filmed like 8 years ago. That kid's done plenty of growing up. Look how much Chandler Riggs has grown up from season 1 to now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question, because if he's been cast for season 9 of The Walking Dead, he couldn't be a hallucination of Morgan if Morgan's not casted, if Lenny James isn't listed in the cast of season 9. So maybe. That's a good question. I hadn't thought about that.
Do some research on that one.
Yeah, but like I said, if Morgan doesn't come back this season, then there's no way it could be Morgan hallucinating, unless it was an accident. He was casted for Fear the Walking Dead. I don't know. Very interesting. 75 Smurfette says The Walking Dead TV movies are, of course, a blatant cash grab because they know how dedicated a fan base we are and that we'll continue to watch anything they put in front of us. True that.
Yeah.
That being said, I love the TV version of Tyrese, although I don't read the comics, so I know little to nothing about that version of him. Andrea was pretty annoying. Thank you. And that season 5 plot with Beth in the hospital drove me damn near crazy with its utter stupidity. Yes! Hallelujah! 75 Smurfette, you and I get along great. Anyway, so hands down, the one character I'd bring back would be Carl. He was one of my favorite characters, and although, of course, I still love the show, there's a big hole in the story without him there. I completely agree.
Yeah, and Henry, way worse than Carl, so I'm definitely not happy seeing him fill that up.
Some people tell you, JP, you got to wait and give Henry a chance.
Man,
Chandler Riggs was annoying when he first started. I mean, I know some people.
I ain't got 5 seasons to give Henry a chance, all right?
I mean, I hope you do. I'm cool with another 5 seasons.
Kill him in the mid-season finale. That'd be just fine with me.
It's not so much. It's just that in the beginning of the show, Chandler Riggs, I don't blame him. He was a young actor. I mean, it's not, it's hard for a kid that age to grasp the concept of acting. You know what I mean?
I didn't like it. The Olsen twins nailed it. Right, give me one of the Olsen twins. All right, that'd be a great Henry.
Are you one of those? What was the detective show they had? You watch that?
I have no idea what you're talking about. No.
Do you still watch the Olsen twins?
I mean, when they're not, they don't know about it, but yeah, I watch them.
You just followed them all these years?
Yeah, okay. I watch them. I'm around. Lindsay Lohan, another beautiful child actress. Not beautiful.
We're not talking about their looks. I'm just talking about Chandler Riggs.
I wasn't saying. I was just saying she was a beautiful actress. She acted beautifully.
Oh yeah, okay.
And she grew into a beautiful woman. I mean, she might be a little rough around the edges nowadays, but
I mean, as long as you can deal with a few crack binges, I mean, she's your lady.
Yeah,
but I mean, I don't know. Like Carl got on my nerves the first few seasons. He really did, just because. And I get it. I get the whole concept. People will just fuss at you so hardcore. He's a kid. I get it, but that don't mean he's not annoying. In the first few seasons, there were times where it's like, look, you little bastard, your dad's the most badass dude, Gesundheit, in the apocalypse. Just shut up and go do what he says. But as the seasons wore on, Carl grew on me, and I'd say by like season 5, I was a huge, I really liked Carl. I remember it was a scene that what really solidified it for me was when they were in the, was solidified even be the right term there?
Yeah, that worked.
Yeah. What really, got it for me was when they were in the church and the Terminus people were coming in and Carl was sitting back there and protecting Judith and he pulled the gun out and he crept to the door. I was like, this dude's a badass, man. I mean, he's annoyed me in the past, but I like Carl. So from that moment on, man, I liked Carl.
He has his moments.
And I'm telling you, one of my favorite moments in that show, I don't want to say absolute favorite because that's one of my favorite moments was Carl's speech to Negan. The whole, is this who you want it to be? And if someone has to die, kill me. And then, him and Negan really had a moment there.
I would have liked to have seen Carl talking to Negan in that jail cell.
Right?
Yeah, that would have been great.
Great conversations.
Never gonna happen. Thanks, Scott Gimple.
Yep. But yeah, I agree. There is a hole in the show without Carl. Absolutely. I mean, with Rick leaving, this was Carl's perfect time to shine. You know what I mean? I could have gotten behind a Carl-led Walking Dead. I mean, basically carrying on his father's legacy. We followed him from the beginning of the apocalypse. I would have been cool with that.
And had Carl not left the show, Andy Lincoln might have been a little bit more apprehensive about leaving.
Yeah,
himself,
he said that's not the reason, but there's lots of, and myself included, lots of people that think that had a lot to do with it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, plot-wise, you just took out this man's main driving force. You know what I mean? Like, that's what made him so vicious and so headstrong was Carl. Carl was going to live, damn it.
That could have been the straw that broke the camel's back.
Zod4 says, yo, I just caught up with Fear the Walking Dead and listened to your Season 4 finale podcast. Just thought I'd repeat my comment in there in case you didn't see it on that video. I am 1,000, that's 10,000% behind the Lost podcast idea. I've thought about doing one myself. It holds up as my second favorite show ever to this day. I actually run a Lost website. Ooh.
Wow.
If you're interested in checking it out, Justin, it's a hatch simulator. Oh, dude, I'm going to check that out as soon as we finish this podcast. That's awesome.
A hatch simulator? What's a hatch?
The show, you would know.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I saw most of season 2 when I was in college.
We probably, you got to think, man, between the seasons of The Walking Dead, we're definitely going to be looking for something to do. And JP and I had talked about doing like a Lost, like we could do like maybe 1 or 2 episodes a week because JP could watch them during his morning show, like when he's off the air. And so, yeah, that's not out of the question yet. So any Lost fans,
not beyond the realm.
Yeah. Brian Akim says, thank you so much for answering my question. Feels good. You're welcome, Brian.
Oh, always good to make someone feel good.
JP loves to make people feel good.
Yeah, do it all the time.
Then Brian also says, have you ever seen Van Helsing? Best werewolf design ever. Hugh Jackman's in it. Yeah, I've seen Van Helsing.
I saw that.
It's been a long time ago, but yeah, good times.
I don't know, but I think the best werewolf was an American Werewolf in Paris. No CGI. Just, yeah.
This next question, we won't stay on too long because JP doesn't really game much, but I actually have thought about this after playing Red Dead Redemption 2. I got to thinking about why can't they just do an open world Walking Dead game? Brian also says, what would you make the perfect The Walking Dead game? Open world? ? Absolutely open world. The Walking Dead game would be amazing as an open world because just think about it in the terms of like Red Dead Redemption 2 or Red Dead Redemption or even like Grand Theft Auto, other open worlds. You could have the kingdom, especially now with this 6-year gap. They could really just fill in story there with a video game. I mean, you would want to see Rick in the video game. So that's the only issue I would have with that being the setting they chose. But you could have the kingdom, the hilltop, and it's an open world. You can go explore, kind of like what is it? Days? Is it not DayZ? What is it? What is that open world? I'll think of it anyways. But it's like an open world. Just there are zombies you got to watch out for. But like you can ride to the kingdom. You can do missions there. You can have strangers stranded, kind of like in Red Dead, how there are strangers you can help and you gain. I mean, it would be not easy in the sense. I mean, I know it takes a lot of work to make a game, but in the sense of just planning the game, it would be so easy.
It seems like a no-brainer.
I mean, just follow Red Dead Redemption 2's format and do it with The Walking Dead. And you have settlements, you have the sanctuary, and you could choose who you more align yourself with by. Like in Far Cry 4, you kind of had these two people that they were on the same team, but you were working for them, and one might say we shouldn't run this mission. The other one would be like, I think we should do it, and you could pick who you wanted to go with, and you would kind of align. You could do that with these communities. You know what I mean? Like you could do there could be disputes, and you kind of have to pick a side on, like, no, we're not going to attack this place, and the other side's like, well, we are, and you can choose who. It'd be so easy, man, as far as the planning. I think it would be awesome. I don't know that they'll ever do it, but that's what I think The Walking Dead needs to make them a serious contender in the video game world. Let's see. David Ortiz said David Ortiz not agreeing with us at all this season. Luckily, I'm a Red Sox fan, so the name David Ortiz I like a lot. He says, "Nah, totally agree and understand, JP. I liked Andrea, and the reason is she was just cool." No, she was not.
She was cool, man.
David Ortiz, you're cool. Andrea was not cool. Andrea was not cool at all. I didn't like her one bit.
She was a sexy. She was like the Black Widow.
Keep in mind, JP only likes her because she gave up more butt than anyone else in that show.
No, this is not true. She kind of reminded me of the Black Widow,
which was only twice, right? We only saw her have sex like twice, but that's still more than anybody up to that point, right?
She was like the Black Widow of the Walking Dead world, you know.
Well, I don't know. We saw Lori bang Shane, and then we kind of saw Rick and her making out. So I don't know. Lori might have got it twice, whereas anyways, JP only likes Andrea because he likes to picture himself as Shane in the car, and that's the only reason JP likes her. If she didn't give up that butt in a parallel universe where they didn't write Andrea to give up that butt, JP would not be sitting here defending her.
She's beautiful. She's dangerous. She's brilliant.
She's dangerous.
It's kind of. It reminds me of La Femme Nikita.
Maybe to a walker once she got used to. Who is she dangerous to? She had a chance to kill the governor, knowing damn well how evil. Herschel, a guy that is like father goodness, like he's just a good guy, tells you that the governor is a messed up man. Which I don't know why Herschel didn't just sit out there right then and tell her everything he knew about the governor, just to get it out in the open of how depraved he was. But Herschel, and he tells you. He's a sick man. Like you.
Well, see, Andrea was playing at a bigger game.
No, she was okay. Well, she lost the game, which means she won't dangerous at all.
I wouldn't say she lost it because in the end
she died.
She prevailed. Well, she died for the greater good, though.
She didn't prevail anything. They killed some of the guys. They went to war. They took in some of the governor's people, and then the governor killed Herschel. How did she win?
In the grand scheme.
But how did she win in the grand scheme?
I don't think they would have Rick and company would have even survived if not for Andrea's
What did she do to help them to survive?
She made the ultimate sacrifice.
In what way? What part of her actions helped?
Life.
But how did that help Rick and them?
If not for that, man, for one thing, her death really cemented everyone together. I think the whole group would have splintered.
No, that's just reaching. That's just reaching for something now. No, that's you reaching now. No, nothing about her death helped Rick and them defeat the governor. Nothing.
It did.
No.
Milton, the whole thing.
Nope. I liked Milton, actually. I hated to see him go. I feel like he would have been a really interesting character. But, David, you and JP can have that. But I just don't. The most useless character now for a while would be Aaron. What a shit character. Kill him, please. Who should have been used more as Paul, talking about Jesus. He has definitely been lame as hell and should have been written better, or just kill him because he's useless. All right, great podcast, guys. Thank you, David. We think the world of you. I like Aaron, actually, so I have to disagree there. I like Aaron. I do agree that they could do better with him to an extent, but he's in the comics. He kind of plays the same role. He's not he's not like, he's a main character, but he's not. He's like a secondary character to the main, you know what I mean? Like,
he's not a heavy hitter.
He's there to move things in place, but he's not there,
just at the right moment.
Right. And Jesus, I agree. I agree with you there. I've been saying for the last year or two that Jesus has been one of the most underutilized characters in this entire show.
Do you want to kill him, though?
No, absolutely not. I just want them to start writing him right. I'm hoping this episode, it seems to be very heavily centered around like Jesus and Aaron and Daryl. I'm hoping now Jesus will move more into a prominent role because, number one, again, like I said, it doesn't really fit him physically. He's a small guy, but I like the dude playing him. I think he plays a good Jesus. He's a very likable guy. I think that Jesus is probably, like I've said many times, Jesus is probably my favorite character in the comics. I just love him. He's a badass. He's just kind of like that bad boy wild card we all would like to be. Which, he's not so much a wild card. Once you learn he's a good guy, but at first you don't really know what his intentions are. But no, I do agree. He's definitely not been used right, but I don't agree with killing him. I just hope they start writing him right. Ellie Noir says, seriously, why did they kill Carl? They are outsourcing his parts to Henry and Judith. Rebar Jr. It's just a soap opera prop. Can't wait till they get some fool on this show to say he looks just like Rick to legitimize the kid. Carl character is really missed now, and Maggie too. Agreed.
Yeah, I'm not happy with Carl's storylines being divided either.
Zod4 says, +1 for the European tour. I'm in London, too. Hey, we love our London listeners. Yeah. Well, all of our English,
A little Euro trip.
English, Europe, wherever you're listening from. We love all parts of the world. But England, I've always wanted to go to. Never been there. Always said it's in my to-do list. I will go visit England.
I'm a big Anglophile.
Great music came out of England, still does. There's lots of English bands that I still listen to. But let's see. Was there a particular title or character that got you hooked? Oh, wait. How did y'all first get into the comic books? Was there a particular title or character that got you hooked? I'm not going to try to be a hipster. The show got me into the comics. I can't be like, I started reading them back long before the show. Like I've heard some people blatantly lie about, I've been reading it. It's like, well, that's funny. I don't ever remember you telling me, a zombie fan, a long-term Resident Evil, like just wanting a good zombie apocalypse story to come out, telling me, hey, why don't you go read the Walking Dead comic? Most people I know started reading after the show, but I started in season 1. Watched the first 2 or 3 episodes, loved it so much, wanted to know the source material. I went out and got a couple of the hard book, like the chapters or whatever.
Yeah, the big ones.
Yeah, so that's how I started. How did you start?
Well, my buddy Crowder, mutual friend of ours, he had a copy of the second volume of the trade paperbacks, just left it at my house. I read it, and I was like, man, I need to get the rest of these. And
was that before the show?
It was, it is well before
That's awesome. I didn't know that. So you were reading the comics before the show came out?
Yeah, man. I started, I basically read the trade paperbacks through the prison saga, and I started picking them up monthly with issue 49, which was
that's the
first issue, right? So yeah, I was, I
that's
was super
awesome,
stoked
dude.
When the show came out.
That's awesome. I did not know that. I thought you had started after the show like me. So that's cool. So you are an OG.
I was a little bit late to the party, but like I said, 49 issues in, not too bad.
That's really cool, dude. I did not know that. I knew you had started with the trade paperbacks, and I knew you picked up the comic issues. It's kind of early on, but that's awesome. Let's see. But what storyline? So the prison saga is kind of what got you hooked?
Oh, I mean, man, just that first. Like I said, I didn't even read the first volume first. It was the second trade paperback where they're like on the road heading to Herschel's farm, and
right.
And yeah, I was like, man, this is really good. I need to get the whole story. So.
Well, that's awesome. I just started at the beginning when the show came out. I watched the first few episodes, and I was like, this is what I've been missing since Lost went off. This is what I've been missing in my life. So I went to a comic shop and got the trades or whatever and just started that way. And I actually didn't start reading the individual comics until like a little into the hundreds because I had just been basically reading like the hardcover books and then just waiting, yearly until those came out. And it's kind of like binge watching a show. I would just read the entire thing. And then finally I just got to the point where I was like, okay, I got to start getting the issues.
Yeah, man, it was so exciting too when you start seeing the teaser images for that first season in the comic books.
I bet.
They had little previews.
I bet.
Oh, man.
That's a joy that I'll never experience. Let's see.
God, I've said beautiful a lot this podcast. I don't know why that's like my word of the day or something.
Life is beautiful.
It is, it is sometimes.
One So True says, who's more of a badass, Alpha, Michonne, or Carol? Michonne. Hands down, Michonne for me.
Yeah, it's hard to.
Alpha's a badass. Carol's a badass. What I do like about these 3 characters, though, is with that question, they are badasses in completely different ways. So that makes it a really interesting question. Carol is a sneaky badass. Like Carol, we know she'll kick your ass, but Carol is very good at blending into her surroundings and seeming harmless. She's kind of like a cobra, like she looks just like a regular, warfare. But then when she pops up and puts that fan out, it's just like, oh my God, what did I get into? Whereas Michonne is just an outright badass, man. Michonne's very intuitive. She has a great ability, it seems, to like read people. I mean, these new strangers, obviously. I've heard that X story is really messed up. Like when we find out the story of the X's, I've read somewhere this week, on yesterday, that it's a really messed up. So it's kind of why she doesn't trust people. Like the governor, man, she sniffed him out like that. She knew out the gate, like she found Andrea, knew she was a good person, took care of her, met the governor and his people, and just instantly was like, yep, this does it. Which, I mean, they haven't said it in the show. In the comics, she used to be a lawyer.
Right.
So she, very, very intelligent person. So she was able to, and I kind of assumed that's what she was in the show, and maybe why she was able to kind of like put the clues together real quick that this isn't what it seems. And Alpha is just a boss. I mean, like, she's just not so much of a badass in a fight. It's just her. She talks a big game. People fall in line when she speaks.
Yeah, and we haven't seen her in the show yet, so we really don't know the level of her, Did
Michonne and Alpha never met in the comics, did they?
Not that I recall. Not that I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I'm trying to think. No? I feel like somebody's going to comment and be like, yeah, they did, issue, whatever. I'm like, damn it. I feel like the worst fan ever. But I don't think that they met. But I feel like I feel like of the three, if Carol was able to beat Michonne, it would be Michonne wouldn't realize that their problem was as big as it was. You know what I mean? Like if they had some dispute that Carol felt was big enough to kill Michonne over, I don't think Michonne would realize it was that big, and Carol would hit her when she least expected it.
I was going to say, Michonne just wouldn't see it coming.
No, fist to fist, it's Michonne all day. Again, like you said, in the comic, I still think fist to fist is Michonne all the way, but I think that we haven't seen Show Alpha, so I don't really know how they'll tweak her a little bit, but, it just depends on the scenario. So really great question there. Like I said, it just depends on what the situation is. Mm-hmm. All of them are in a field death battle. I think Michonne's got it.
Oh, yeah.
Mail call from SSS RCR85. JP, you'll love this one.
Oh, boy.
How many people have put their thumbs in your butts? No one from me. JP, what's your count up to?
Oh, geez. That's a tough one because, if we're only counting thumbs, it hasn't been that many, but we're talking like, there's 5 fingers on a hand, so, and generally the thumb's not the go-to, digit going up the butt, so... Man, I may have to get back to you, RC. I may have to do some tabulating, but let me know if you want to know just like how many fingers in general, or if we're just sticking with the thumb. Because if it's fingers in general, then yeah, the tally's going to be pretty high.
My friend JP here is an open book, so
look,
maybe we'll do a podcast just about your rectal experiences. Who knows?
We could do it.
Alex Jamirez. Stupidest things the show has done. How about everything with Denise? I didn't really hate Denise that bad. I remember Matt that used to be on a podcast with us, man. He was not a fan of Denise at all. I didn't hate her as bad. I kind of started liking her the episode she died.
Yeah, I
didn't love her, but it's like I feel like Stupid Things, a story of done. Beth's storyline with the whole hospital thing. Again, I maintain that's one of the stupidest storylines in the entire comic. Like, yeah, it got us Noah, and I like Noah. I really hated to see him go when he did. I thought that in the long run could have been a really good character.
Yeah.
So, that's what it got us, but there's other ways. And some people were like, no, it serves the purpose of, but that doesn't, they could do it another way. We could have got Noah a whole nother way. I thought Beth's whole storyline with the hospital was stupid, boring, and pointless. Just like I did not like Daryl and Beth's episodes. I get that it was to make us see how close Daryl and Beth were so that when Beth died, Daryl could be all sad and brooding and it was justified, but I did not care for the whole Beth-Daryl pairing in episodes.
The hospital storyline, I didn't love it. I didn't hate it, but the cabin episode was garbage. That much we can agree on.
Yep. So, those are my things probably. Some people say Georgie. I don't know. Georgie could be a catalyst for something much bigger, so I'm not going to hate on Georgie just yet.
We've only had her, one episode?
Yeah, I need to see more of what is going on before I decide whether... I really feel like that's leading to a Commonwealth storyline. She's not afraid. She's safe. She definitely doesn't live on the road. I don't think that she lives in that van. She's too clean. She's not afraid of anybody. She's lucky she ran into Maggie if that's the case, because she ran into Negan. Negan would have just been like, you sound all fancy schmancy. Yeah. Give us your shit and come with us. He wouldn't have, she wouldn't have talked him down. So I feel like she comes from a community like the Commonwealth or something, and she's just kind of like Aaron was for Alexandria. She kind of scouts out and does it. She's trading for music and stuff. You know, she doesn't need food or anything. So I think that there's more to her, a lot more to her story. All right, let's see. As we wrap this up, man, we still have a ton of questions. We'll try to start. Oh, wow. I did not realize we were getting this many questions. We'll try to speed this up a little bit because we are 43 minutes in.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay, last one from Alex. What I'm going to do is we'll start picking. Maybe we'll start doing this. We'll start picking one. If somebody asks multiple questions, we'll pick one of your questions, and then we'll try to do it that way, just to speed it up a little bit.
Yeah, we'll try to streamline a little bit.
Last one from Alex. I'm interested in getting into radio, podcast, and broadcasting like you guys. What advice can you give me, and what can you tell me about the career?
Oh boy!
Oh man, that's a whole nother podcast. Yeah, JP. Well, no, not really. We both right place at the right time.
Yeah. I basically
just have been doing
went to the mall super high. I bumped into a mutual friend of ours. I was in a really good mood, and I got her to laughing. And next thing I know, she's like, "Well, my friend Justin works at a radio station. We're getting ready to start doing a podcast. Love to have you on." And I just kind of started hanging around until,
She was, I remember when she told me to, she was like, my friend JP, do you mind if he's on the podcast with us? And I was like, no, man, the more the merrier, And I was like, has he ever been on the radio? She's like, no, but he's really funny. I think he'll do a good job. And I was like, you got me really funny. Let's do it.
Yeah, I remember you guys had your partner at the time was a dude named Joey, and I would listen. I'd just be like, "This mother, I'm gonna take him down."
You just wanted his spot, right?
But then I ended up not even like being in the same room with him, so I couldn't go at him. So
you were like, "I'm taking his spot."
Yeah,
that's my seat, Joey.
Yeah,
which Joey had a lot going on, so he was kind of just in and out when he could be there.
But if you're interested, check out.
No.
Oh, right.
No, do not check it out.
It's a gem. It's a lost gem.
Yeah, maybe we'll release old episodes, but no. Let's see. But yeah, if you want to get into radio, man, and really both of us, right place at the right time. The circumstances just led JP to meet me, and then we got to know each other, and then it's been a long process. I mean, it's been a few years in the making, and just when a spot came open, I got him a job, and my friend did the same for me. I went to school to work on computers and did a lot of because in school I did mostly like my main. I've been to school, dropped out, been back. I've been in and out a lot, but
I never finished.
I went for psychology for a year or two, and then I also was taking computer sciences, and also was doing another time doing sound and video editing, graphic design type thing. And my friend one day, I actually was at Disney World, of all places, in 2007 or 8. One of my friend's girlfriends had a friend.
I like where this is going.
No, it's a long drive. It's like my friend's girlfriend's friend was interning at Disney World, and he was like, hey, do you want to go? He just called me one night, seriously. He was like, you want to go to Disney World tomorrow? Keep in mind, we live 8 or 9 hours from Orlando. So I'm like, yeah, I guess. And he was like, it's a free trip. We just have to buy our food and stuff. I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it, And so we rode down there and stayed a few days. And when I was there, and I was in the it's a small world thing where you have the whale you can throw the quarter in.
Okay.
I just was like, because I was working little BS jobs. I was still doing a little electric work on the side. Nothing. I didn't have a career, you know what I mean? And I was like, I wish I could find a fucking real job. And I threw the quarter in. And seriously, I kid you not, on the way back, my friend Brandy called me, and she worked at a radio station. She's like, hey, I want to offer you a job real quick. And I'm like, oh, my God. I need to go back to Disney World. I'm going to throw the next one in there and be like, I want $1 million. And she's just like, we got a position open for a board op. It's really small, but I know you do sound editing and stuff. I figured maybe this would be something you could help us with. And then it just went from there, man. I was doing little stuff in the station, and their morning show host was like, hey, I'm probably going to move back to New England. And they were like, hey, if we trained you in the next few months, would you be willing to maybe do this? And I was like, yeah, hell yeah. And then it just
started out doing behind the scenes stuff. Actually, for me, my first getting paid by the radio station, I was doing sales, selling advertising, and then got on.
Which you're about to start doing a lot more of.
Yeah, whole other story.
It's so funny for them to listen to us here because we're totally different on this podcast than we are on the radio.
That's true.
JP Slim is not the JP that is on this radio station. I'm not the same Justin that does the morning show I do a morning show and an afternoon show for 2 different stations. So it's like one of them's a modern country station, so I am a totally different person on that one. And then for the classic rock, I'm a totally different person. So it is weird to see the multiple personality. But best advice I can give you, man, is just go to radio stations. I mean, obviously, it doesn't hurt if you go to school to study it. But if you just go, JP straight up was like, dude, I'll do stuff for free, man. I just have always wanted to do radio. If you have, I'll come in for free and intern or something.
Just hung around.
So I started bringing him in. So, just go to radio stations. And radio stations are never going to turn down free help. So I guess at that point, you have to ask yourself how bad you want it. Mm-hmm. If you want it bad enough that you're willing to give up some free time to learn the trade and once you learn some things, you're valuable. When somebody comes to the door and they want a paying job, and I asked them how long have you been in radio? Have you done it? Well, I've never done it, but I've always wanted to. I don't know if I'm willing to pay someone yet, but But then when you come to the door, and even if you were to say, well, I've interned at radio, I know how to work Cool Edit, I know how to do automate, I know how to do music programming, research with MediaBase, blah, blah, blah. Then it's like, okay, come on in. Maybe we can get something going. So just go to a radio station, man, and just tell them, say, look, I'm willing to give you some free time. I just want to learn it. And that's probably the best way to go, man. I mean, I know it sucks to give up free time, but if you want it bad enough, that's really the best way to go about it.
It's definitely an interesting business to get into, though.
Because I can tell you, college kids show up and they're like, I've got a 4-year degree in communications. Cool. How much radio experience do you have? Because communications and radio are not, I mean, it helps you build up to it, but it's not, I need real world experience here. Like, have you interned at a station? Right. So, yeah, man, just go to a station. Be like, dude, I'll give you some free time. I want to learn radio. I want to get into radio. It's a passion of mine. I'm willing to maybe do a day or two a week, a couple of hours just to learn it. And I would imagine most stations would probably be like, okay, so let's go try it. Carrie Major says, you guys make our days greater. Thank you, Carrie. You make our day greater.
That's good to hear.
Thanks for all the hard work that you do. Oh, it's nice of you to call it hard work. Oh, let's see. Renee at Midnight gave us a list of characters. I don't know if these were her favorites or the worst. I can't remember. But Abraham, Merle, Glenn, Andrea, Noah, Tyrese. What were those from, Renee? I'm so sorry. I don't remember. Oh, you know what? It's probably characters she wanted to see more of.
Could be.
Abraham, definitely. I want to see a Abraham and Negan world because, oh my God, the standoffs in conversation alone would be.
Yeah, it's sad.
Awesome.
We never got that in the comics or on the show.
God, in the comics, it was, at least in the show, there was some glory to it, in the sense of like build up. And no, in the comics, it's just like, there's Abraham. There goes Abraham. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just, even Robert Kirkman said he regrets the way that he killed off Abraham. There were some characters that I would like to see more of, but not any of the main characters, like Milton, Noah, and Martinez. Hey, we already said both Milton and Noah would have liked to have seen more of.
Sure did.
Martinez, maybe. I don't know. That guy always seems to play a douchebag in most of the stuff he's in. Like he was in Disturbia. He was kind of the douchebag cop, remember, with Shia LaBeouf?
I never saw that.
But, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing more of Martinez, but he's not one I particularly think of. But I do agree on the Milton and Noah thing. Let's see. Jeep wants to know if I will go outside and search JP's car. I have $10 that he actually has Taylor Swift or maybe even Lady Gaga on his CD player right now. You know what? He doesn't, because he doesn't have a CD player.
No, there's that.
What's funny about JP that blew my mind is JP does not look like someone that would listen to like hip hop at all. Which I know the main music JP loves is classic country.
Well,
but
I love any music.
Outlaw country, I should say. Right. But JP listens to a hip-hop station's morning show. Every time I get into his car in the morning, he listens to, what is it? What is it?
Three Live Crew.
Yeah, he's always listening to that morning show. Definitely I would not have expected it.
Well, I mean, man, in my opinion, there's two kinds of music. There's good music and there's bad music.
Well, you don't really listen to it for the music, though, right? You like the conversation.
Well, yeah, but that morning show. But I do like hip hop. I mean, I love anything that tells a good story. You know what I mean? Hip hop's not always about the storytelling. It used to.
Nas tells some good stories.
Yeah, Nas does, like Ghetto Boys.
Yeah, you listen. Some good hip hop tells you some stories. Like I remember back in the day, somebody blew my mind. They played a Nas song, and it was basically him describing like this entire series of events like in reverse, and I was like, that is genius, dude.
Yeah, like Immortal Technique, he's a great storyteller, but I mean, it's definitely not so much about that anymore.
I just don't like the mumble rap. Like I like hip hop, I don't like. I'm more of a metalhead. I listen to like heavy metal. Well,
right. I'm not.
I hate to even say heavy metal because it's like that and country are two of the most vicious genres. You're like, I like heavy metal. Then they say, who do you like? And then you name a band and they're like, that's not heavy metal. That's alternative. That's pop. And you're like, oh. I like drop tuning, palm mutes, and growls in my music. But I do like hip hop. But JP listens to everything, man.
Yeah, I mean, primarily like older country.
He don't like 90s country.
No, God, no. But,
and she also says that whose mailbox? I don't know. I just Googled Walking Dead mailbox because we're not making money off of these, so it's not like there's a copyright infringement thing of someone's mailbox. It just is a dope mailbox. But I just Googled Walking Dead mailbox, but it's really cool. Tiny Dancer says, I would bring back Shane. It would have been cool to split the groups up, give the viewer and Rick time to catch up to Shane's way of dealing with the apocalypse, and bring them together and have the most kick-ass zombie fighting team ever. Then that actor was just so perfect for the role. I agree, man. John Bernthal was Shane deserved to die, but I really like the governor. I hated to see him leave because I just enjoyed him.
To move the story, I think you had to kill Shane, but
obviously Lori would still have to go, which is fine because she was the worst. I agree, except for Andrea was the worst, then Lori. God, there's so many of these. I didn't realize you guys had so many questions for us. Sorry that this is dragging on. Do you think that Eugene will get Father Gabriel's... No, I'm not going to say that because... let's see if I can word this without spoiling it. Do you think that Eugene's going to get Father Gabriel's path in the comics? Which I probably just spoiled it anyways, but since in the comics it's Gabriel, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. They kind of foreshadowed that with the whole water tower thing.
They did,
but I don't know that it's going to be Eugene.
It is Father Gabriel's equipment up there. He's
the one that orchestrated
stuff up there.
He might have to go up there to try to fix it or something.
Yeah, so that's a tough one.
Definitely. All right, and Sora says, "Do you like Henry? I still wish that Carl was still. I wish Carl was still alive." JP doesn't like Henry at all. I'm indifferent. I don't not like him yet, but I'm not crazy about him. We'll see. But I agree. Carl missing has left a big hole in the show that
I just think he's
was a big mistake.
Kid, I don't know.
Elisa Jett says she loves your music selection. Johnny Paycheck, Jerry Reed loves Marty Robbins, and Johnny Duncan.
Ooh, loves Marty Robbins too.
C.W. McCall.
I got a Marty Robbins album up on the wall in there.
She also says Milton could have been used more. Absolutely. Do you think Daryl is unkillable? Could he be the last man standing from the beginning of the series? Yeah, because he's got all that plot armor. All right, I just won't kill him off until people stop. T-Dog, yes, we miss T-Dog. He had very few lines, but it was so sad to see him die. He truly, you talking about Andrea sacrificed herself. He gave the ultimate sacrifice to save Carol. T-Dog was just a good dude. I think we would have liked to have seen more of him and where he could go. I mean, I know they wrote him just to be kind of a side character, but I actually really liked him. Natural instincts are different to contain. Release stress factor. No inhibitions after everything they experienced. I don't really know what that's in reference to. I probably have to go back and listen, but yeah. Thank you. What is this? I'm going to figure out what it was we were talking about, and we'll address that in the next one. What about Lori? Useless and got a lot of butt, too. No idea how or why. Crappy mom, too. Just adding to the bullshitting on this crappy day at work. Yeah, Lori sucked.
Yeah.
I think Michonne will let Negan out. What do you think? That's from What Is This? I think Negan's gonna trick his way. I think it's gonna be similar. I don't think so. She could, but I think it's gonna be one of those things. It's gonna kind of fall in line with the comics, which I don't want to spoil. But it does not involve Michonne letting him out. He gets let out by a very naive person for a very stupid reason, and it just goes from there.
We'll see.
Mail call, JP. What's your obsession with butts and getting butt? Not really a question, just an observation. JP just loves butts.
Look, it's primordial. You know. What can you say? I mean, the prehistoric man took his mate from behind. It's not my fault.
I love that we're going through the history of sex.
Yeah, but
you think there was foreplay back then?
I don't think initially. I think the clitoris it was an evolutionary thing that came. Well, honestly, I think it wasn't there for a long time, and it eventually evolved. I mean,
wait. You're saying you think early human women didn't have clitorises?
Is it clitorises or clitori?
Clitori?
What's the correct pluralization?
No, God, let's get into your stand-up routine with octopi.
You fell right into my...
See, I pay attention to your stuff, man. But, no, that's a good question. Clitorises or clitori?
Clitori.
That's a good question. Which is it? I really don't know. I've never spoke of the clitoris in plural before.
Yeah, you don't always have them, in multiples.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. But, I'm just, it's just something about... You really want me to dive in?
No, I don't. We're moving on.
That's another podcast.
Let's see. Okay, so the next question also comes from Brienne. JP, Justin, is there any chance that you guys would do a podcast with it being live and showing us your faces? We actually already did on our Facebook. That was like a year and a half ago, though. I feel like we both look a lot different than we did then, but
yeah,
I need to get back in the gym, man. Like, I was all thin and...
yeah, dude. I saw a picture of myself the other night.
Now
I
mean, I'm not fat by any means now, but I'm just definitely not in that shape.
I'm a lot skinnier, which I was a lot. Anyway, yeah.
But yeah,
we'll do that.
We could. One thing I hate about doing face videos, though, is all my life I've had a very deep. People think I'm like a big burly man, and I'm like, dude, if I shave my beard, I totally look like I'm still in college. That's just I kind of hate to destroy that illusion. I prefer you to consider me a sexy, burly lumberjack, which I do. I trim my beard down a little bit. My beard does help add to my grown man look, though. I will say that. But I trimmed it, and the guy at the barbershop took it way further down than I wanted him to. But it's starting to grow back out. But yeah, maybe. I just kind of hate to destroy that illusion because, I sound like I probably weigh like 240 pounds and I'm like a burly 6'2" lumberjack in reality, which, I credit not being that big to going to the gym all the time. But in reality, I'm like a 180-something pound, 5'11", 6 foot guy who just looks like a skater kid. Well, I don't know. I used to skate. I don't think I look like a skater kid now. I just don't look the way I sound. Mm-hmm. But it is funny. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see.
Yeah.
Symmetry. I have two questions. How long do you think the Walking Dead main show will last? And second question, how long do you think it should last? Or do you think it should just last forever? Same with the comics. How long do you think they'll last? I don't know, man. I see the show going another couple seasons, especially with this new breath of fresh air kind of.
Oh, yeah. I think it's got many more years to go.
Dude, even if it sucks, what is it hurting me to keep watching it? You know what I mean? Like when it's like, oh, they should just end the show now. Why? If you don't like it, don't watch it. It doesn't cost me, I just get it's just a show that comes on my TV package and I love watching it. So even if it starts sucking, I mean, what's an hour of my Sunday? I'll watch it as long as they do it. I can tell you that now. They're going to have to do something really bad for me to be like, I'm done with this show. Never watching it again. So, but in realistically, I can see it going another 2 or 3 seasons, easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe beyond. Comics, I don't know, man. With Robert Kirkman, you just don't know. Like, if he's going to end it, he's just going to up and end it, I feel.
Yeah, I hope not.
But I feel the Walking Dead comics, he said recently he's still got tons of ideas that he hasn't done yet that he wants to do. So I think the comics are going to go on for long. And at no point have I felt the comics were lacking. I mean, yeah, an issue here or there, you're kind of like, it was a slower issue, but he's always good at building things. If it was a slow issue, there's going to be repercussions and it's going to affect, something big that's happening. So the comics could go on forever.
Yeah, there's been some lags, but all in all, always good.
And then the last one isn't even a question. It just says first like and comment and view. Good view, Rock. Thank you so much, Jala Wardez.
Big love, Jala Wardez.
Yeah, we definitely love all of you so much. But we want to do. We were talking about doing some live podcasts. I might go now because, like I said, look at me last year and like I was all thin and I had like this. Just scruff. I look like this little,
We're going to get around to it.
I look like this. I don't know if I'd say little kid, but I definitely look like I was still in college. Whereas now with my beard out, and not wearing. And that's another thing too, man. I was wearing like a backwards hat in that one, like a fitted cap. That always makes me look younger. Normally, like if I have my hair, gel in my hair and my beard out, I definitely look my age. It just. But yeah, maybe we'll do that.
We'll get around to it.
But we'll see. But I think that was all of them. If we missed your question, please leave it in this comment section, and we'll try to get it next week. Again, remember this. Try to do one question a piece or put your questions kind of all together in one comment, and that way we can kind of move through them a little bit quicker. Because I hate that somebody might have to wait so long to hear their question answered. But
we love you.
But we don't mind. We'll spend as much time as you want. Yeah. We just don't want to keep you here longer than you want to be. But, so... That's going to wrap it up for this week. We'll podcast Monday. The mid-season finale will have come and gone. Baby. Not ready for this, but I am so ready for this. If that makes any sense.
I think it's going to be a killer episode.
Oh, I'm thrilled. So we'll be there talking about that also next week, I promise, because Thanksgiving's not next week. It'll be a lot easier to work around. We will do another playthrough of The Walking Dead's Michonne, the Telltale game. We'll have the second episode of that up.
Oh, yeah, lots of new content coming up.
Yeah.
Since there seems to be such a high demand for it, we'll do one, I guess, called JP's Bud Adventures. Maybe not, but maybe. Maybe that'll just...
You know what? Yes, we can do that. You can do that. I'll just let you do that.
This is going to get in some weird territory. Let's just, good stuff on the way.
Also, don't forget, we got a conspiracy podcast with JP, myself, and our old friend Jesse, and other people will be rotating in and out, but that'll be your main 3. And I'm going to let JP take complete control on that one because he's very into conspiracy theories, and I think that is going to be an amazing podcast, and I'm so excited for it.
I'm getting some research together now. It's going to be great.
And we're going to actually have themed episodes. Like,
Yeah.
we're not just going to sit and talk about, we're going to, each episode we'll be talking, like, one might be flat Earth, the next might be like the Rothschild. You know what I mean? Like every...
I've got 4 good topics lined up so far.
What do you got? Give us a tease. Give us something to look forward to.
Ooh.
Come on, give us a little tease.
Oh, all right. Well, the first one I want to do about Q. If you're not up on Q, it's a military intelligence. Anyway, we're not going to get into it, but yeah. Going to start with that. And
Is it like a secret organization thing?
Yeah, well, it's...
Secret society type thing? One world government type deal?
Well, they're fighting against that.
Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't know that there was a group out there doing that. Awesome.
Yeah. And also, like you said, want to get into flat Earth and maybe a pretense to that, like space fraud and social conditioning.
Like basically lying about our space ventures and everything we know about space?
Yeah, just conditioning humanity to believe that it's possible. And then, once you finally pull it off, we're already preconditioned as, they finally did it. That's great.
I am so looking forward to hearing these.
It's going to, like I said, I really want to do some research because a lot of times I'm just kind of spitballing. I mean, I listen to podcasts.
Our whole podcast is spitballed. Imagine how good these podcasts would be if we actually did like we do on radio and take time to research and presentation. We just get on here and just
yeah, good stuff coming down the pike. Stay tuned.
We're super excited. So you've got that, some gameplay, Walking Dead talks. We're going to start doing Walking Dead what ifs. Lots of content on the way. I really want to do some urban exploration. I want to find some supposedly haunted locations, and it's hard for JP because JP's job schedule is kind of off. He's never really off on nights or weekends or whatever. So
could be changing.
This could be changing soon. And if that's the case, we may have some weekends where we can go find some supposedly haunted. I don't think JP or nor I are really big believers in ghosts.
I'm open to the possibility.
Right.
But,
likewise,
we'll see.
so it'll be interesting. So it's lots of things that we want to do. So we're excited to see this channel grow, and we're excited to have you along for the journey. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. I'm Justin.
And I'm JP.
And we are the Podcasting Dead.
Gotta go.